Oh boy. Hey guys, ready for example 3? I hope so, because ready or not, here it comes. I'm starting to run out of steam, and my wife just texted me and said she has KFC at home waiting for me. So now I'm like drooling, salivating. That's nasty. Anyway, too much information for you guys, I guess. Let's take a look at our example 3. Let's say that we're asked to solve, what do we have here? 2x squared minus x equals 0? Haha, yeah, right. Think you're going to get out that easy? Guess again. All right, so let's start solving this thing. First thing we need to do is what? Get 0 on one side of the equal sign. What would be the fastest way to get 0 on one side of the equal sign? Look at the left side. The left side has two things that we would have to move over to the right, whereas the right-hand side only has one thing to move over to the left to get 0 on one side. And in general, it's a good idea to keep the number in front of the x squared thing, or the letter squared, because this doesn't always have to be x. It could be any letter. But it's good to keep that positive. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. And we have to remember that not only do we want 0 on one side, which we just got, but we also want to make sure that we write our equation in standard form. Now that means we want the highest exponent first on the variable, on the letter, 2x squared, minus x minus 3. All right, because we go from the highest exponent to the next highest exponent to the next highest exponent. X squared, x to the first, x to the 0. No, in other words, no x's. Now, we're not so lucky with this quadratic, are we? This one is not a naked quadratic. This one is a dressed quadratic because of that annoying 2 in the front. So what does that mean for us? That means we have to first multiply our front end times our back end. And what is 2 times negative 3? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, I'm sure you guys knew that. Negative 6. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 6, but those same two numbers have to add to what's sandwiched in the middle. And what's sandwiched in the middle? Not 1. Wrong. What kind of 1? Negative 1. Negative 1 is sandwiched in the middle. Now, what numbers make that magic happen? Two numbers that will multiply to negative 6, but at the same time will add to negative 1. How about negative 3 and positive 2? Does that work? I don't know. Let's check. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Happy. That works. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Cha-ching. That works. All right, we're good to go. We've got our lucky lotto numbers, negative 3 and 2. Unfortunately, because of that annoying 2 in the front, we can't just factor this as x and x. What we have to do is what? What time is it? That's right. It's not nap time. It's not lunch time. It's not snack time. It's table time. So let's get our table going here. We're going to do a 2 by 2 table. In other words, 2 rows. These are rows. Rows go left to right. Rows right, left to right. Columns go top to bottom. And let's start filling this thing in. Remember that the first box in the upper left, we fill in with the first piece in our equation, 2x squared. The last box, we fill in the last piece in our equation, ignoring the side that has 0 on it. We're just looking at the left-hand side. Negative 3. It's going to go in the last box. Now, we have 2 boxes left. What do you suppose we're going to put in those 2 remaining boxes? Do you guys remember what we did yesterday? It wasn't that long ago. What did we fill those boxes in with? That's right, our lucky lotto numbers, negative 3 and positive 2. Now, if we leave it like that, technically we are not in good shape. We need to remember that we have to attach to these lucky lotto numbers our variable. Okay, in this case, our variable is still x, but again, the letter could be anything. It could be t, it could be a v, it could be anything. Now that we have our table filled in, we want to start factoring out GCFs for each row and each column. Now, for the first row, what's the biggest number that I can divide into 2 and 3? Let's ignore the negative for now. 1, right? So we can take out a 1. I'm not going to write it, but you could write it if you wanted to. Now, we always factor out with the variable the smaller exponent. X squared versus x to the first. 2 versus 1. The smaller one wins. The smaller one is the winner. We can take out x to the first, or just x. Let's look at our bottom row. What's the biggest number that goes into 2 and negative 3? Same thing, right? Positive 1. Now, how do I know to factor out a positive 1 and not a negative 1? Remember, we factor out the sign that's closest to where we are factoring. The box closest to me is positive, so I take out a positive quantity. Let's look at the first column. What's the biggest number that goes into 2 and 2? That would be 2. How many x's can we take out? We have an x squared here, x times x. Here we just have a single x. We can only take a single x out. And in our last row, or excuse me, last column, pardon me, we have negative 3x versus negative 3. We can factor out what? Definitely 3, but is it positive or negative? We factor out the sign closest to us. So the sign closest to where we're factoring is negative, and the GCF is 3. And we can't take any x's out because this first box has an x, but this bottom one does not. Now, the stuff that's along the left and the top of our table gives us the factors. Those are the things that are going to go into our parentheses. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in. We can do 2x minus 3 first, or we could do the x plus 1 first. It doesn't matter. Your choice. So, what do we do now? What's that next step? We factored the thing. Now we set each factor equal to 0, right? I'm sure you haven't already forgotten that. That's exactly what we do. We set each factor equal to 0, and we solve. Okay. To solve the first equation, this 2x minus 3, we're going to add 3 to both sides. We get 2x equals 3. Divide both sides by 2. And so one solution is 3 over 2. To solve this second equation, we subtract 1 from both sides. That's looking good. And what's 0 minus 1? Negative 1. What are the two solutions then to this original quadratic equation that we got here at the very beginning? One solution is positive 3 over 2. The other solution is x equals negative 1. All right, very good. We're moving right along. Example 4 coming your way next. Thanks for watching. Cheers.